October 5th, 2014, from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was the Baltimore Ravens at the Indianapolis Colts. And the Colts had the ball first. And they started off on their own 20-yard line. But then, after making it all the way to the edge of the red zone on 4th and 1, they ended up going for it. And they got stopped short as Bradshaw wasn't able to pick up the first down, and they turned the ball over on downs. So now Baltimore had the ball on their own 21, but on the first play of the possession, their first play from scrimmage in this game for the Ravens, they ended up fumbling the ball as Smith caught it from Flacco, but then after fumbling, Indianapolis recovered as Hughes got the recovery. So now the Indianapolis Colts had the ball with about 10.5 minutes left in the first quarter, and they had the ball on the Baltimore 22, but they weren't able to pick up a first down, and Vinatieri would come into the game to kick a 38-yard field goal as the Colts got the first points on the board and took the lead 3-0 over the Ravens. So now the Ravens had the ball with less than 10 minutes on the clock in the first, and they had the ball on their own 20, but they would go 3 and out and kick the ball back to the Colts, who also would go 3 and out, as the defense was coming up big time in this game for both of these teams. So the Colts now had the ball with about 6 minutes in the quarter on the clock. They had the ball on the Baltimore 31, but then after a penalty set them back 5 yards for 1st and 15. They picked up a yard. Now on 2nd and 14, Andrew Luck dropped back to pass and was intercepted by Hatoli Nada as the lineman got the pick and gave the ball back to the Ravens as they now took over on their own 41. They weren't able to really get anything going, and they ended up punting the ball back to the Colts. And so now the Colts would end up getting the ball with about 3 minutes left in the quarter, and they would end up punting the ball back to the Ravens as these two teams just kept trading punts as both defenses were playing pretty spectacular in the first quarter, only surrendering the one field goal on the scoreboard. So after one, the score was 3-0 Colts over the Ravens. The Ravens had brought the first quarter to a close, and they opened up the second quarter backed up against their own end zone on their own 7-yard line after having started the drive on their own 4. They got out to the 20 after picking up 13 yards from a pass from Flacco to Daniels. Then a 20-yard pass from Flacco to Smith brought them to the 40. A few plays later, they were in Indianapolis territory. And then on 3rd and 6 from the Indianapolis 38, Joe Flacco hit Forsett for a 26-yard pass, and now it was 1st and 10 on the 12-yard line of the Colts for the Ravens. But they ended up not being able to get it into the end zone, as on 4th and 1, Flacco was sacked for an 11-yard loss, and they turned the ball over on downs. So the Colts took over on their own 14-yard line. They ended up marching down the field. They crossed over midfield and into Baltimore territory and into the red zone, but then on 3rd and 5 from the 18, Andrew Luck was sacked for a 7-yard loss. So then Vinatieri came in to kick a field goal. It was good, but it was nullified by the penalty, and it would end up being 1st down and on the 20-yard line for the Colts. So after surrendering the field goal, the Ravens penalty kept the Colts on the field as they now had a 1st down, and on the 1st down, Trent Richardson ran for 14 yards and made it 1st and goal from the 6, but a penalty would actually on the touchdown, because Andrew Luck threw a touchdown to T.Y. Hilton, but a penalty of offensive pass interference would nullify it. So now, after having the field goal nullified from a penalty on the defense, a touchdown was nullified from a penalty on the offense. So it was 1st and goal from the 16, and they weren't able to pick up a yard, as there was a run for no gain and then a couple incomplete passes, and now Vinatieri would come back out to kick the second field goal of this drive, this one from 34 yards out after kicking a 43-yarder earlier, and it ended up being 6-0 Colts over the Ravens at this point in the game. So the result of the drive ended up being a field goal, and it was a 20-play drive that went 70 yards and lasted 9.5 minutes. So now the Ravens had the ball with just over 30 seconds on the clock before halftime. They had it on their own 20, and Justin Forsett ripped a 29-yard run for a 1st down all the way to midfield at their own 49. But then they picked up a 16-yard pass on 2nd and 10 after an incomplete pass. So now it was 1st down on the Colts 35, and after picking up a couple yards, they ended up spiking the ball, and here came Tucker and he kicked a 52-yarder to put the Ravens on the board. And so going into halftime, the score was 6-3 Colts over the Ravens. So the Ravens would come out of the locker rooms after halftime with the ball, and they'd start their first possession on their own 20, and they made it all the way up to the 45, but on 3rd and 11, Joe Flacco dropped back to pass and was intercepted by Davis. So the Colts would take over now on the Baltimore 33 with about 13 and a half minutes left in the third. They would end up getting all the way into the red zone, and then on 3rd and 6, from the 6, Andrew Luck hit Allen for a touchdown, and it was now 13-3 as the Colts took a 10-point lead at this point. So the Colts were up on the Ravens 13-3, and the Ravens had the ball now with 10 and a half minutes left in the quarter, and it was on their own 14. They would end up punting the ball, so the Colts got it back with less than 8 minutes left in the third, and they punted it. So the Ravens would get it back with about 6 minutes left, and they would punt as well. So now the Colts had the ball with just over 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and they had it on their own 45. They crossed midfield, and they came down to the red zone. And they had first down on the 10-yard line. And then on 3rd down from the 10, Andrew Luck dropped back the pass and was intercepted by C.J. Mosley. So right when they were on the verge of scoring a touchdown, or at least a field goal, instead they ended up turning the ball over and getting no points out of the possession. And now the Ravens had the ball with a minute left in the third, and it was on their own 18-yard line. They would bring the third quarter to a close as they had made it all the way to the 42. So after 3, it was 13-3 Colts over the Ravens. So the Ravens had the ball, and it was 3rd and 3 on the 42, and an incomplete pass would force them to punt the ball. But then on the punt, there ended up being a fumble, and the Ravens would recover. So now they had the ball in the red zone on the Indianapolis 12-yard line, but they weren't able to get anything going, and they would end up having to settle for a field goal, a 27-yarder from Justin Tucker, and it was now a 7-point ball game with the score 13-6 Colts over the Ravens. So now the Colts took over with a little less than 14 minutes on the clock, and they had the ball on their own 20, and despite going backwards a couple times on the drive, they would end up reaching the end zone after 8 plays, going 80 yards in about 5 minutes, as it was capped off by a 13-yard run by Andrew Luck as he scrambled for the touchdown, and that made it 20-6 Colts over the Ravens. So now the Ravens got the ball with a little less than 9 minutes on the clock, and they had the ball on their own 20, and they went down the field in a quickness as they scored in just a minute and 40 seconds, going 80 yards in just 4 plays, capped off by an 11-yard touchdown run by Justin Forsett, which made this a 7-point ball game with the score 20-13, with the Colts in the lead over the Ravens. So now the Colts got the ball back with a little over 7 minutes on the clock and up by a touchdown. They were on their own 16-yard line. They would cross midfield and get all the way to the red zone, but then on 1st and goal from the 8, they would end up losing a couple of yards. That brought up 2nd and goal from the 10, and then Bradshaw fumbled, and the Ravens would take over. So the Ravens now had the ball on their own 11 with less than 2 minutes on the clock, down by a touchdown, and Joe Flacco would be sacked on 1st down for an 8-yard loss. So now it's 2nd and 18 from their own 3-yard line, but then Flacco found Forsett for a 15-yard pass. So it was now 3rd and 3 from their own 18, and an incomplete pass would bring up 4th and 3 from their own 18. But on 4th and 3, Flacco found Owen Daniels for an 18-yard pass. So it was now 1st down on the Baltimore 36. But an incomplete pass would bring up 2nd down, and another incomplete pass would bring up 3rd down. So now 3rd and 10 from the 36. Joe Flacco found Smith for 7 yards. And it was now 4th and 3 from the 43. Flacco to Smith, incomplete pass, and the Baltimore Ravens turn over the ball on downs. The Colts take a knee, and they are victorious as they win this game with the final score 20-13 as the Colts improve their record to 3-2, and the Ravens fall to 3-2. And in this game, Andrew Luck was 32 for 49 with 312 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He ran for 12 yards off 6 carries, and he actually ran for a touchdown. Joe Flacco was 22 for 38 with 235 yards passing and an interception. The leading rusher in this game was Ahmad Bradshaw with 68 yards off of 15 carries, and the leading receiver was T.Y. Hilton with 90 yards off of 9 receptions. The leading tackler was C.J. Mosley, as he had 15 tackles in this game, and he also had that interception. The Tolinaba also had an interception for the Ravens, and Davis had the lone interception for the Colts. So the Colts hold on to win this one, as the Ravens attempted a comeback, but it was too little too late. And the final score, Colts 20, Ravens 13.